Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hello, hello, everyone. Can we get a quick Zoom round of applause for just being here? Yes, 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 yes. How's everyone doing? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are zooming in from. Welcome to Cracks and Rhizomes. Can we save ourselves? Can we get another Zoom round of applause? Yes, for being here. Thank you so much. My name is Desiree Wanden, Des for short, and I will be kind of kicking us off today. I'm so happy to see everyone's beautiful faces. And momentarily, we're going to hear everyone's beautiful voices. When you see someone, whether they're a friend, a family member, maybe a colleague, you usually greet them, right? And we have many, many ways of greeting people. Sometimes we greet people in our traditional languages. Sometimes we make up our own greetings with our friends or our families, but we greet each other. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to collectively greet each other. I want us to take about 30 seconds to think of your greeting, whether it's just a traditional hello, how are you doing? Whether it's in your country's language, bonjour, como está? I want you to think of your greeting. Let's take 30 seconds to just think of that greeting. And for people that are rolling right in here, thank you for being with us on Zoom. I want you to think of a greeting. I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds. All right. Does everyone have that greeting? Can I get a thumbs up if we all have that greeting? Yes, yes. And what we're going to do now is we're all going to come off of mute. I see a lot of us on mute, but we're all going to come off of mute. And we could do that by clicking the microphone icon in the lower left-hand corner. We want to all hear all our beautiful voices. And we're going to count down from 5. And when we get to 0, we're going to let that greeting out to everyone that's on Zoom with us. We're all greeting each other. How does it sound? Does it sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's let the greetings out. Hello.
Hello.
So great to see you
Hello.
all.
Welcome.
Hello.
Good night, critical community.
Goedemorgen. Leuk om jullie te zien.
How are you?
Goedemorgen. Wat leuk om jullie te zien.
Like my team.
Goedemorgen.
Morgen.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Goedemorgen. Great to see you.
Hello.
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 I don't know about all of you, but I feel extremely welcome right now. Heart being from the
Here,
house.
I'm not speaking.
Barbara.
Everyone said hi. Thank you so much for that. We are a global community and we have such global, beautiful voices. And today we're going to have some great, great conversation with some of those beautiful global voices. So, right now, I'm going to hand it over to the leader of education and research at the Eastside Institute, Carrie Lobin.
Thank you so much, Des. Thank you, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We have 27 countries represented in our registrants today, so just wonderful to be here with you. We're so glad you could come here for Cracks and Rhizomes. Can we save ourselves from ourselves? As Des said, hosted by the Eastside Institute. He also introduced me. I'm Carrie Lobman. I'm the leader of education and research. And I'm also a professor of education at Rutgers University's Graduate School of Education. For those of you joining us for the first time, which is many of you, let me tell you a little bit about where you've landed. The Eastside Institute is an independent research and education center for new approaches to human development and social change. We've been around for close to 50 years, and we're a hub, a non-hierarchical gathering point for a wide network of creative practitioners, activists, educators, and therapists, and many, many other kinds of people around the world who are, if they share something, it's that they are seeking, they're curious, they're experimenting with creating new hows, including how to learn, how we heal, and how we organize together. We call ourselves fairly affectionately a development community, one that's not defined by geography or identity, but by a shared commitment to creating environments where human development, emotional, social, political, and philosophical, can flourish across difference and in the mess of the world we have all helped to create. We're the home of social therapeutics, which you'll be hearing much more about today, a postmodern, non-diagnostic, and deeply humanistic approach to emotional life. And we're also a space of learning, of mentoring, and of co-creating. We offer classes, workshops, and partnerships with and for creative leaders around the world, ranging from one-time events like this one to Performing the World, our 4-day international festival of creative activism, to our 9-month flagship program, the International Class. Actually, many of the people you're going to hear from today are graduates of the Institute's International Class and of our social therapeutic group study program. Today's conversation brings together our director, Lois Holzman, who's led this development community for decades, and Bayo Akomolafe, who is a relatively new friend, but whose work has inspired so many of us here today, with a panel of creative social therapeutic practitioners, and with all of us here to explore, question, wander, and co-create. You will get to know all of them through this conversation. So in the interest of time, we're going to put their bios, their biographies in the chat as I bring them up, and we'll bring up Lois and Bayo to the stage at this time. Welcome, Lois. Welcome, Bayo. Let's begin.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello again, Bayo.
Hello, can you hear me, sister?
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
As we said when we right before this event started, we are thrilled
Okay.
to have this conversation with you, and I am in particular so happy to see you again and be able to talk with you in real time. This event came about because at the end of 2022,
Wow.
Bayo and I had a series of conversations. Can you be human in a post-human world? And in that conversation, we touched on so many topics that are dear to both of our hearts and our souls. We spoke about challenging psychology.
Yes.
Not reforming it, and not recovering it, but being recovered psychologists ourselves, recovering psychologists. And we spoke about post-humanism and post-activism, and within that, we really honed in on some of the bugaboos of psychology that we
Right.
think have damaged. We contested trauma. We contested empathy.
Right.
We contested victimization, and
Right.
they're on our websites, Bayo's website and our website, the transcripts and I think the recording itself. I'm not sure, and you can go and find it, find those conversations. And it occurred to me that it would be so great to do a follow-up event in some form, but I wanted it to bring in the voices of social therapeutic and performance activist practitioners and have this conversation with Bayo that I think is an unusual one. And so the event came about. Bayo was intrigued and interested and excited about it, and made time in his busy schedule. Right now he's coming to us from,
Brazil.
I don't know if it's Rio, but I
São
know
Paulo?
it's
São Paulo.
Sao
São Paulo.
Paulo.
Yes, yes.
A great city that I've been to several times. And how is it? How's Brazil? And before we get started, let's just you know, how are we doing the world in the world?
It's vibrant, sister. It's alive. I just finished speaking to some folks. They're just right ahead, a few feet away from me. The city is bristling or reeling and maybe a little bit of suffering under the weight of the tariff wars that have been unleashed recently. But there is fugitive life here and the possibilities of other kinds of arrangements. So I'm dancing with that wave. I'm glad to be here, of course.
Wonderful. Great. So I'm going to turn it back to Carrie to introduce our practitioners, and then we'll get our conversation started.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you, Bayo. We're excited. So we're going to bring up our 8 conversationalists. I'm going to wait for them to pop onto the screen, and then I will very briefly introduce them to you. And as with Lois and Bayo, their biographies will be in the chat in a moment. So as I say your name, maybe just wave. I'm going to say them in alphabetical order, and you can just let people know. Jennifer Bullock is the founder and director of the Philadelphia Social Therapy Group, based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, here in the United States. Rita Ezenwa Akuro is the founder of the Street Project Foundation and executive director of the Global Play Brigade, based in Lagos, Nigeria. Thecla Farrell is a social therapeutic coach with the Life Performance Coaching Center. She is based in New York City, although right now she is in Trinidad. Jesse Fields is a medical doctor and internist with a practice in Harlem, a community organizer, and a facilitator of the Eastside Institute's Creating Our Mental Health initiative. Stephen Licardi is a social therapist, a spoken word poet, and a neurodiversity advocate. He lives in New York City, and he is right now in Costa Rica. Hugh Polk is a psychiatrist and a social therapeutic practitioner based here in New York City. Ishita Sanyal is the founder and director of Turning Point, a community mental health initiative based in Calcutta, India. And Maho Castrillo is in Costa Rica. She is a social therapist and a community organizer, living in Mexico and right now also in Costa Rica. So welcome all of you. I look forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Carrie. Welcome, all of you. I think I'm supposed to be spotlighted.
Yes, Des is going to switch you and me.
Okay. There I am. Okay. You are incredible, you people. You look beautiful. And I know you sound beautiful, and I know your work is beautiful. So I'm excited about this. How this is going to go is for the next, we're going to spend our time together by the 8 of you having a conversation together with a few prompts from me. And then I'm going to share very briefly what I hear and what I see, and then ask Bayo, what does he hear and what does he see? And then that will spark you all to talk some more, respond to what we both see, and give us some more, share some more. And then we're going to open it up for about a half hour, or maybe a little more, or maybe a little less. We'll see. But we're aiming for a half hour to all of you here to respond, ask questions, give comments, and continue to create this conversation, this unusual conversation. So I would like to begin by setting the stage a little bit. And my helper in this stage setting is Michel Foucault, someone I don't talk about a lot. And in reviewing some of his stuff, I realized how influential he's been, obviously on the world, but on myself as well. For those who don't know, Michel Foucault was a French philosopher, historian, political activist, kind of just always quoted and studied as a beginner, a precursor of postmodernism, post-structuralism. He died in the 80s. And he wrote about many, many things, one of which that I have been thinking about is how we see and what looking as a socio-political act is and what it does. It's not subjective. Perception is not objective, and it's not subjective. It is living. It shapes a paradigm and is also further shaped by the paradigm that it shaped. Foucault describes the medical gaze, which shifted doctors from seeing a person living in the world who is sick or in pain. The shift was to see disconnected parts inside the person, an artery, a heart, a hip, a toe. The medical gaze transformed medicine and many other things to a biomedical paradigm, way of seeing. Much good has come from that and much bad, but that's a topic for another day. I have been thinking a lot about ways of seeing as we prepared for today's event, because Bayo is constantly shifting our gaze to other ways of seeing, inviting us in a loving way to see new things. As he says, instead of looking at something, look away at something if you truly want to see. Getting to know Bayo's work with my wonderful 8 colleagues here and playing with it as we continue our practices of social therapeutics has been an absolutely wonderful ride. So much resonates with me and our practitioners. We see so many of the same things, but Bayo's language, his poetics, have shed new light on them and have nourished us and nourished our understandings. So it's such a thrill today to have Bayo along with us on this journey, on this ride. We are thrilled to have him and all of you as we meander in the mess for the next 2 hours. Thank you all for coming. And now I would like our 8 presenters to share something Bayo has said that touched you, resonated with you, made you see in a new way. Anything we'd like to do with that to share.
I will kick us off. Where did we get the idea of the body? Where does the body begin and stop? Trauma is an ideological understanding of the body, a private individual's pathology, versus what if that is your grandmother trying to speak to you? It traps us and fixes us in the frame. Rita.
Since grief makes tender boundaries, might grieving help facilitate perceptual shifts that allow us to notice the world differently. Might a structured hesitation to jump into solutioning and a desire to stay with the troubling effectuate new capacities for engaging our most haunting crisis? Hugh.
I want to notice the spaces, the cracks that are emerging in this speculative enterprise we call capitalism. They are unforeseen, unanticipated, not part of the established order of things. I want to play in the cracks. Ishita.
Bayo, your generative power of confusion, I think, opens the path to eruptions, unfolding unlimited possibilities of becoming. Over to Mayo.
Ishita. Bayo, how do we break the cycle? How do we stop history from repeating itself? Bayo answers, I have no clue, but that's the point. If I had a clue, it might be just modernity repeating its thesis. Stephen.
Autism is my name for the ways we are trained, habituated, conditioned, and rewarded to think along dominant lines of production, how we ought to behave, a tendency towards the already known. Dr. Fields?
Bayo, the slave ship never really disappeared. It became the shore. We are still on the slave ship. Thecla.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thecla.
To live is to be defeated over and over again, as opposed to the binary construct, orgasmic possibilities. We are coming together and falling apart at the same time. I think in terms of movement. It's constant, igniting pathways.
It was so rich, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gives us so much to build with and from. And so let's start building. Jesse,
Yeah,
would you? I'd like us to begin this conversation by expanding on or questioning the quote that you. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be your own quote. It could be the totality of the poem we just created. Jesse, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited to be doing this with everyone who's here. It's really a wonderful, overwhelmingly great, wonderful. So the poem was beautiful, and there was so much there that, you know, to explore and to continue to build. I, in particular, wanted to give some of the work that I do in terms of social therapeutics, and that really everyone is part of, because it's grown out of many, many years of outreach and organizing, and it's creating our mental health. That's the name that we have been using. It's fundamentally social therapeutics on the streets of the communities, particularly of New York City, but of course we do work, we're working around the world. And it's rooted in grassroots community outreach. And we have a tradition at the East Side of going to the community, talking to people directly, having conversations about many things, including about health and diagnosis and the DSM, and new approaches as we're developing and exploring new approaches to health to what's called mental health, to helping people to grow and develop. And so we've been doing this project, and I wanted to give examples, just sort of concrete examples of this work, because I think it is connected and creative, and an example of collective experimentation. So what's evolved, and the workshops and sessions, which are in person and online, have evolved over several years. At the beginning of them, we usually do 3 exercises, which I want to talk about briefly. The first is that, so we're usually in a circle, or maybe sitting at a shelter, or a food bank, or a community kitchen, or in a church, or a community center, or a senior center, and in some kind of formation, often something of a circle. And we ask each person to say their name and do a motion. And then they say it again with everybody doing it together. So I might say, Jesse, or somebody might, and then everyone repeats it together. And then we have been doing an exercise where we mirror with someone that you don't know, moving slowly, often to music like John Coltrane or Jean Baptiste, doing that, one person leading, the other person following for 2 or 3 minutes, and then switching. And sometimes it gets to the point where you're moving together and really no one is leading. You're just moving together in the room together. So, and also sometimes we do an emotion and a movement, standing or sitting. And I have, I write poetry. I love poetry. I think it's important in our lives. It gives us a different way. Movement and poetry gives us a different way of communicating. So one of the workshops that we do is at an asylum seekers facility in New York, and people are from all over the world, lots of people from Latin America. We have a translator, and I read. So I want to give one example of a poem and what we did with it. We performed the poem. This one, a few excerpts. It's called Stillness Between Breaths by Frederick Joseph. Some mornings I wake and the headlines taste like copper. The sky forgets how to be blue. The world is ending in pieces, not all at once, but in the way glass breaks under the weight of silence. So Alan and I performed that poem, and then people started talking, and there were people there who are asylum seekers, and they spoke about the challenges of the threat of possibly being deported, of going to work and not coming back, or going someplace and not coming back to their family. And there was a family there who talked about that, and Alan and I performed what people were giving their story. I played the mother, Alan played the son, who's 15 years old, and they talked about, this challenge, and Alan and I performed the mother expressing her love for her son. The father was there also, and having a conversation, saying to the son, this might happen, something might happen, and I may not be able to come home. So we need to prepare for it, but I wanted to speak to you about that. I wanted us to have a conversation about it. And, Alan who's here, he's a performance activist, community advocate, health advocate, organizer. He turned his head around and we performed this. And the mother, the family started laughing. It just opened up. It gave them something that they didn't have before. And we were able to do more communication. So staff members, as well as the clients, come to these workshops. I'm very interested. So one of the things I've learned from reading and studying Bayo and reading his works is to include everything in the environment, and also to be able to take risks and not know exactly what's going to happen, and to experiment. So that's an example of some of our work. Thank you.
Great.
Beautiful. Well, as someone who's experienced your work, Dr. Fields, and actually played with it and participated in it, I think one of the things that I love is I get to experience you as well, and you're also part of part of that. You're giving who you are. And I think that, one of the things we talk a lot about in social therapeutics is seeing ourselves as historical beings, as people with a history, not just individual, but collective as well. And I think I get that sense when you're leading, Dr. Fields, as I do with everybody here that's on the panel, as well as the folks who are in the audience as well. And, the quote that I shared from Bayo about this idea of how we've been acculturated, all of us, on notions of how we ought to be, is something that I'm really dedicated in this work, our work of social therapeutics, which I think really just taps into our human ability, or our need for social connection, which I'm also of the opinion is not entirely human either. But people get stuck in the ought, in what they should be doing, and how they should be behaving, what it means to be normal, what it means to function, what it means to be a contributing member of society. What if you're not particularly enjoying how society is organized? Am I expected to be participating in that? Maybe I need to shape it differently. And so I think the collective power of play and silliness and being able to question what we ought to be doing and why we ought to be doing it together is a very powerful thing. And to use the time to create spaces and use the sort of space-time that's at our disposal that we forget about because it's being sucked up and siphoned off in all these different ways of modernity and in late stage capitalism. I think to give that to people in order to say, well, let's create different kinds of oughts. Let's create different kinds of possibilities, and let's break and crack and fractal together, I think is what we all do in our individual ways. And so, and I do have a deep sense of when I'm doing that and creating that with people, whatever that is, I'm doing it with all the people that are here, the people in my lineage that stretch forward and backward in time, and having a deep visceral sense for that. So build on what you're all saying.
That is just such a breathtaking statement, Stephen. And we are all learning so much from you in leading the way. I put in the chat another quote from Bayo: the way is awkward, not forward. And I think about that every time I think about your amazing leadership in weirdness and nonlinearness and strange science fiction that's not so strange and is strange. I was thinking about the quote I picked that inspired me around what is our body, how trauma talk fixes us. And I carry around a little saying, the body might keep the score, but relationality changes the entire game. And I'm thinking, Maho, about your amazing work in your own life and with clients around living with and growing with chronic pain. And I'm wondering if you'd want to say more about that or anything else that you'd like to give.
Thank you. That's such a generous offer. I really appreciate it. It's emotional for me always to talk about my relationship with the intense sensations I live with. And we can also refer in sometimes, usually we refer as them as pain, you know. One of the things that, and it's also in relationship to the quote that I chose, which is that we really don't know. We don't know, right? Like we don't know so many things and we don't have to know. When I've been living with chronic pain now for almost 10 years, and when it started, of course, I was obsessed with finding a cure, right? And with finding a cause also. Like, where is this coming from? Maybe if I can find and pinpoint to the cause, then we can fix it, right? That's how it's supposed to work. And of the many, many learnings that I got from pain and that I try to also socialize with my clients and the groups and the friends that live with pain also, which are many of us, a quarter of the worldwide population lives in chronic pain. So where are our bodies, right? Like, where are our bodies in all this frenetic system we're living in? Well, most of them are in pain, probably. And this is one activity, one mental activity that people who live with chronic health situations do, is that we try to figure out all day where that sensation came from, right? Like, was it maybe that I picked up that box last night that was too heavy? Was it maybe the chair that I was sitting in last night and dinner? Was it maybe that I bent over too much? Is it maybe the shoes, the ears, like, it's infinite. You can go on that for quite an infinite amount of time. And the truth is that we are everything. We are not this body. We're also the chair I'm sitting in, which probably I'm going to stand up from in a bit. We are the air we are breathing right now. We are whatever microbes were in the food that we ate this morning. And all of that, it's in the probably reason why I'm in pain right now. And in the same way, like the other way around, is that we don't know what can alleviate it or give you some relief. Maybe it's talking to a friend and not taking a pill. Maybe it's taking a pill and taking a walk. Maybe it's like socializing this in your group therapy so you don't feel like you have to carry this really heavy weight by yourself. So I try to share this with clients and with people around me that we really don't know, and that actually trying to pinpoint at where it's coming from, it just makes you crazy and miserable. Yeah.
That's so really.
Mhm. Nice, really nice. We need to think a lot, because I think when Bayo said something happened on my way and I lost my coordinates, my map, my directives, it struck a deep chord in me. Challenges surfaced in my life also when doctors tried to put a full stop in the life of my brother who was suffering from schizophrenia. My parents lost hope. What followed was a stagnant status quo medication that neither cured nor nurtured growth, but instead pushed him farther into isolation, cutting him off from the society and from himself. Happiness seemed stolen, life reduced to mere existence, dependent, frustrated, depressed, with occasional eruptions of anger. Yes, I agree with you. Much of mental suffering stems from disconnection, from society's failure to embrace and include. That was the moment I decided to move beyond bookish knowledge, which often confines us. And I think blind following, whether in politics, religion, or professional practices, can slip into fanaticism. Instead, I chose to learn directly from those people who were living with schizophrenia. They became my real life teachers. In India, we call our gurus. Together, we began weaving golden linings into the cracks of their lives. And at Turning Point, the center we started, we dive into uncertainty within a safe environment we have built, where our identities are not defined by society, but shaped by our own relentless becoming. And lastly, I would also like to mention about what Bayo said, that, you know, healing is not returning to who you once were. And I think that is very important because, especially in India or maybe all over the world, we often think that when you are going through a treatment process, then you would return back to who you were before. So I find this a daring idea because parents and caregivers often long to restore loved ones into an earlier phase of life, a wish that seldom comes true. So let's not try to do that. Let's welcome a new human being. And I think Rita can throw some light on the wonderful work that she has done.
Thank you, Ishita. Just beautiful, just reflecting on everything everyone has said. I mean, I got the opportunity to see Jess's practice firsthand in Harlem this year. And I've worked with Stephen, and I think that at the heart of our practice is the arts, is play and performance. And I remember, Jesse, when, we read the poem in the shelter, that, you know, you had the young people there who could relate to it, who, as much as the poem was so lofty, but they still got it. They were able to relate with the pain they were experiencing and connect with the story that the poem was telling. Even in the center where you had people with chronic mental illness, I remember we were reading the poem, and a lot of them were doing different things, and we would yes and whatever they were given in the poem. And sometimes you would find some of them lost in thought in another world, but interestingly still present in the world that we're in, and are able to make sentences and statements that connect with the poem. And I really think that at the heart of what we do in our practice is creating environments where people can co-create new possibilities for change in our world. And I connect so much with the line about that Bayo shared about solutioning, the need to find a solution to our pain, the need to find solution to our grief. In short, we do not want to necessarily stay with the troubling and bask in the cracks until something grows, because it is hard and painful, especially when you're coming from communities where all of your life you've actually had to swim in pain, in poverty, in all of that. And in my practice with young people is the language that brings all of them together is the language of the arts, where they're able to embody through dance, or embody through music, or embody through spoken word poetry, what it is that they're exploring. One of the activities that we play, Kathy Salitas here introduced me to Performance of a Lifetime, where the young people have 60 seconds to share, their entire life story or a moment in their life. I mean, it's when you listen to it, how do I share my entire life story in 60 seconds or a moment in my life? But they do it. And not only doing that, we then bring in other characters within the space to build on what they have shared, whether joyful are a story of pain. And in that process, we create a new universe where they're able to think of new possibilities of thinking about their pain and thinking about, everything they're going through.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rita.
Rita, thanks. It makes me, the quote that I started with, about life, living is to be defeated again and again. The part that really grabbed me was the orgasmic possibilities. I experienced that quote as an invitation to want to grow differently, to do things that we do every day in new ways, very similar to what you're talking about, Rita. And, I want to give a sense of what my practice looked like with that. Alongside Jessie Fields, the Creating Our Mental Health, we do a program with young girls from Uganda, a program called Let the Girl Be, where we do all the things that Jessie described online in the way that, and have some of the young women wanting to learn more so that they can lead and provide support in their communities. In my practice with life performance coaching, my weekly practice, I want to give you an example because it's just so palpable, the work and what it looks like. So we had 2 siblings in a family come into coaching to grow their relationship as they were about to live together. They worked very hard because they liked each other. And they worked hard to lovingly explore the grooves of their interplay and their roles in the family, and to try and upset some of those roles with the coach's support. And then those 2 siblings, invited their parents to work with them. So this family, over the months of working with social therapeutics, myself and another coach of life performance coaching, has transformed all of their families' relationships. The parents have grown to follow their children's leadership.
Mm.
And the life material of their everyday, moment to moment, historic and current interplay keeps emerging and changing and developing in ways that they or we, none of us could see to begin with. The orgasmic possibilities is a real byproduct of the social therapeutic process. Never knowing, coming unknowingly into a conversation and creating an environment where new things are found out for people who've known themselves, each other, all their lives, is one of the privileges of doing social therapy, social therapeutics. My practice is relatively new. I've been a community organizer for decades, and that's taken me into this practice as of late. And my experience is that it's very similar to standing on the street corner and talking to all kinds of people about the possibility of the world. It's an invitation to grow differently, to do ordinary things in a new way, to create. It's not a promise. It's a creative activity with the material of our lives, with what we have, what we bring, who we are. For me, who I bring, just a little sidebar, is I am a Caribbean woman, very proud because I'm from Trinidad, who's gotten the best education that the Caribbean has to offer, the veracity of Caribbean culture, and the training of an American training alongside my life's isolation, my incredible taste for independence. And that is part of what we create with in the group, who I am and who everyone else is.
Thank you.
It's so, just so moving, Thecla.
Mhm. I wanted to jump in here and say I'm so moved and touched by what all of us are saying. It's just wonderful to be here, and I have the privilege of working with Thecla, with the young girls in Uganda, and with Jesse, and also with our colleague Rachel Mickenberg in creating our mental health groups online. You know, it leads me to think of the prison of individualism that we're all locked into, and I think we're working to build some social way of responding, and the Bayo's quote in the cracks I find fascinating. I think this is there are cracks in that emotional prism of individualism that we're working in and playing with. I just wanted to share with you a little of my some work that a group did in that I lead. I lead several therapy groups for a long time here in Manhattan. And what we say at the beginning of a new social therapy group is the task of this group is to work together with each other and with me to create an environment where everyone could get help to grow and develop emotionally. And then we shut up and let the group sort of struggle with what the hell does that mean? How do we do that? And so they do, and that's the beginning. And we never stop in social therapy groups working on that task, no matter the particulars of what we're talking about. So I wanted to just share with you a little snippet of a particular long-time group that I've worked with. The group meets for an hour and a half each week, and this particular group has been working on many things, but one of the things we've been working on is working with a woman who asked for help and support in her relationship with the guy she's been living with for 5 years. He's emotionally extremely controlling of her, and she can't stand it. He won't let her go out, won't let her see friends, tells her what to do, and on and on. And the group was outraged and upset that he was acting that way. Initially, their response was, "Kick the fucker out." My co-therapist, Sonia, and I said, we understood that response. And in fact, part of us felt that way also. But we said we thought maybe the issue was getting to know Mary and why she stays in the relationship. And what does she want in bringing this to us? The group began asking, and she responded that she stays in the relationship because she loves him. They have fun together. They have good sex together. The group struggled to accept and work with these conflicts. There were a lot of heated discussions. Sonia and I said we wanted to suggest that we relate to Mary as a choice maker, that we support her statement that she wanted help to build her life, and as part of that, to decide what she wants to do in the relationship. gradually and slowly and with great difficulty, the group, more group members bought into that approach. And this opened up big conflicts. Some of people continued to rail against him. Others wanted to help Mary discover how she wants to build her life. And Mary has brought this in every week and is working on trying some new things. And we've discovered in doing this work that how we're, including us therapists, are strongly pulled to take care of her, to protect her, to get her to make the right decision. Mary brought this in every week. She said it was helping her. She began slowly doing some new things, going out with friends, talking more to her parents and getting their support, saying no to him despite the firestorm of protest whenever she does that. So this work, I don't mean to say that's all wrapped up now. This work continues. Last week we were doing it, and we'll continue to do it. And I think we're meandering in the mess, as Lois said, and trying to figure out ways that the group can grow and develop in this process.
Mm, mm. I wanted
I have one or two
yeah.
more comments, and then we have to wrap this part.
Well, briefly, I wanted to build off of what that beautiful example of your profoundly powerful work, Hugh. I wanted to say that in our work in social therapeutics, saying to clients in our groups over and over, I cannot fix you. I will not help you, but together in our pain, in our mess, in our not knowing, let's see where new we can go, can only be done when we are supporting each other, as we all do, to be that brave. So social therapeutics is a brave and risk-taking practice. And I thought it would be valuable to underline that I cannot say that over and over again, knees shaking, without this community.
I
And I
couldn't
think it is
agree more.
not. I think it is not necessary to squeeze into society's rigid boxes also. We can create our own boxes, entirely new, where we can find new ways of living joyfully.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Jen, as well. And just building on what Ishita said, is it's also built on, I think, the authenticity of saying, I don't know, of saying that
Yes.
it's not the I, it's the we co-creating in the process. I have a similar story of a mentee of mine who came to me and said, how am I sure that Nigeria is going to be better? Like, with all of the corruption that's happening, with all of the poverty, the unfairness, the status quo that's operative in the country, how am I sure? And I said, I don't know. And that what the operating word here is for me, hope, that we co-create through the activities that we're constantly engaging the young people to do. And they are part of the process of creating the environment. And because they're part of it, they're also able to create other environments that aids different cycles and communities where people are finding new ways of doing things, of being and becoming in the world. But I think it starts with the authenticity of saying, the not knowingness
Mhm.
and agreeing with it and embracing the activity of the we. I think that that's very key.
You know, Rita, it's funny. I was having this thought about a word that really, the not knowing for sure. I was thinking about developing the belly for this work and for lingering in the midst of a conversation, a group's conversation that's difficult, that's fraught, lingering in the in-between moments, which creates and using theater, improv, not knowing who we know each other to be, and a conversation and something emerges from that. Lingering with each other and being interested, moving in, and the group building with each other's responses. It's the thing that Hugh and you are talking to, all the while having a bellyache, because it's like, it's a courageous activity. Yes, that's what I was thinking.
So it is a journey.
Quite.
Yes, unfolding endlessly, offering fresh horizons at every step.
Yes, ongoing,
Yes.
ongoing.
Never
journey.
finished.
Yes.
Right.
Not finished at all.
No closing of the circle.
Open.
Opening.
No resolution.
I'd like to open it for me and Bayo to comment, add, keep building. And Bayo, I'm gonna just share like quickly one or two things that I see in here and then turn it over to you. Okay. I hear the activity of the respect for the human capacity to become in the form of love. I hear how, in a way, zooming in and lingering is a form of listening that brings the entirety of the world into the conversation. And I hear something that somebody said, quoting you, about solutionizing. And I hear the social therapeutic insistence that there are no problems. Because if there are problems, there are solutions. And so there are no problems. And I heard in each person's particular concrete story a turning away from seeing a problem and seeing an opportunity for transformation. Those are three things that I heard and saw, and I know that they would love to hear from you about what you heard and saw and have a conversation with you.
That was rapturous. That was humbling and beautiful. Thank you for sharing your stories. And yeah, I wish I didn't have to say anything. And this just rolled over into another hour of conversations,
Yeah.
just listening to you all.
Well, it will, but with you a
I
part
really
of it.
do. Yeah, yeah. But I was having perverse thoughts listening to you because I was thinking of crabs for some reason.
Crabs.
Crabs, yes. And I was, why is the image of crabs coming up, showing up over and over again? And then I remember the conversation I had with a dear sister, Professor Erin Manning, in which right there on the spot, we coined a neologism. We suggested that what we need now are crustacean cartographies, right? Because crabs are legendary and famous for walking to the sides. You know, there's something about them that goes. Am I doing it right? They walk to the side. Um, and of course, evolutionary biologists tell us that we're all becoming crabs. For some reason, we're all becoming crab-like. It seems like the universe has this evolutionary urge to make us crabs. There's even a word for it. It's so important that there's a word for it. It's called carcinization. How non-crab animals are slowly becoming crab-like, right? And I guess that's why I was thinking about it. That there's something about the sides, the sideways, the awkward, that refuses the frontality of modernity. And I guess what we're picking up here, what I'm hearing, is that a lot of what we have labored under the headline of psychology or therapy is a political project of frontality, is a political project that discretizes the field into autonomous selves, right? And this is how whiteness thinks. Whiteness not as identity, but whiteness as ontology. Whiteness discretized. It's a technology of power that manages already discretized bodies. And its work is to obscure the field. That's what whiteness does. It's to obscure the fact that bodies are constant field effects, and those bodies are constantly becoming, right? And that's what a lot of psychology as a technique of whiteness, as a technique of modern power, is dedicated to: the atomized, independent, sovereign, separable, separate, isolated, isolatable self. But there's something here about moving to the sides, that the sides are untapped spaces of power, right? That the sideways is the awkward. It's the fact that the self isn't fully containable within the anthropomorphic shapes that we've assumed. The self is everywhere, literally in the field. I just had an hour or so of a conversation here in São Paulo speaking about bioelectric morphogenesis and what some in the field are now calling quantum memory matrix, which is just a highfalutin way of suggesting that everything is memory and everything is psyche, right? So the political project of focusing on the atomic self, the atomized self, the radioactive subjectivity, is a political project. And I see us wobbling and playing with the wobble and dancing in the cracks. And this is awkward. This is always untimely. This isn't um, some uh, some vocation of mastery. And this is why I was nodding my head vigorously when Rita was saying, this is arts, right? This isn't a science of precision. This is always speculative. This is a reaching towards, and this reaching towards is always speculative, humbling, and never complete. We will never arrive because the self is the field. It is not the thing in the field. It is the field expressing itself. And this field is material and speculative and emergent and complicated, right? So I guess here the sonorous, sibilant, conspiratorial, fugitive um, poetry that we're sharing, which should not be heard which should not be heard everywhere because we will be arrested, is is the invitation to notice the policing of oughtness or autism, right? The OUGHTR, which is the shape of experience, the sanctioned shape of experience, the sanctioned geometry of experience, how you ought to think, how you ought to behave. It's the shape of pragmatism. And we are in a time when those accommodations are loosening. And so the cracks are showing up more often. And the work of these times, the vocation of now, is not to heal in the sense that, and healing is always political. We're healing towards something. We're healing in power, right? It's not to heal as such as it is to play with the cracks and see what the body wants to do next, to see what provisionality might crystallize itself into if only we play with those bioelectric fields. That's what I'm hearing. Crabs.
That's wonderful. I'd like them, my colleagues, to respond. Zoom can also only have 9 people on spotlighted, so I will be off camera, and every one of them will come up, and you'll continue your conversation. They'll say what their response, back and forth, improvised conversation.
Right.
So that'll take just a minute. There you go.
One thing I was thinking, can I go ahead? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. One thing I was thinking off of what you're saying, Bayo, is that I love that image of a crab and the awkwardness of kind of lumbering along, and I think it's very awkward to live in the cracks and to build and play in the cracks, and we don't know how to do it. And boy, we're one of the oughts is you ought to look good. And so anyway, I love that image, to embrace awkwardness. As in somebody who's always felt myself to be an awkward person, I think this time to be alive and with you and everyone here is a great opportunity to flourish as an awkward person.
It's that the awkward can never be mastered, right?
Right.
Immediately there's an institution
It's ruined.
dedicated. Immediately there's an institution dedicated to the mastery of the awkward. Run, right? Flee as far as possible, because we figured it out. We know exactly. But that's the idea. The universe is constantly teenage. It will never get itself together. It's awkward, awkward limbs, awkward teeth, everything. And what it means to be here, and I'm borrowing from Black studies and feminist materialisms, is to notice the para-ontological, is to notice the spaces where the awkward still thrives within the prisms, the panopticon, to bring in Michel Foucault, the prison systems that govern and police the geometry of experiences that we rudely call normativity. And the invitation of our time is, how do we hold space for the places where we're not put together well? Where we're losing ourselves in our sentences, where our body postures are doing something else. That feels exciting to me.
Bayo, I just wanted to say I like the I like the it's your work, and I think again the work of us and our colleagues, and of like really being suspicious of neatness, things that are neat and tidy. And the other day just yesterday I was talking with Majo and some other beloveds here about how physicists have tried to figure out the fine tuning of the universe, and how everything seems to be in these neat little numbers, and isn't that really strange that there's so much neatness in the universe? And I think my first response has always been, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Doesn't make any sense that the universe should be organized in that way, and it's a superimposing when we start trying to make sense of things. Once we start trying to make sense of things, it becomes a political act, an oppressive act, because it starts to close in the periphery. It makes us start looking at instead of looking away at. And so I think I find it really refreshing to feel empowered to be suspicious and question, why is this so neat? And why are we trying to make this so neat? Can we do something other than, can we make more messes? and what that does, and
Yes.
make more space for mess. So
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. It's the sanitization of the sensorium, right? We thrive and live in sensoria, and we sense the world because we are accommodated in particular ways. And this has been you see, of course, everything we're saying is racialized. Everything we're saying is connected to ecology, connected to death and loss and suffering of every kind. Modernity is the paradigm that seeks to flatten the world into neatness, into categoricity, right? And so that's why it gives you a clean bill of health and tells you all you need to do is arrange your chakras. And if you can get everything neat and tidy, you're fine. You're good. You're healed. You're whole. I know I've heard people come to me and tell me I'm going back to my ancestrality, all the way back, and I'm going to heal all my ancestors. And I'm like, all of them, really? All of them, just all the ancestors, including the microbes and fungi and stuff like. Where do you stop? Where do you draw the line? Is that we are coming down to earth and we will not arrive intact. And neatness, the paradigm of sanitization and hygienic conditions and ontologies cannot tolerate the scandal of what y'all are trying to do here.
Oh, I have to, I have to share this. So I don't know if you or anyone has read Hospicing Modernity by Vanessa Machado de Oliveira.
Dear sister, yes.
Oh my goodness. And I've shared this with Maho and others that one of the powerful examples she gives in her book is Western do-gooders come into indigenous communities and say,
Yes.
guess what? We're going to help you create flushable sanitization systems.
Yes.
And the indigenous communities saying, no, thank you, because we have a very, very important relationship with our waste and our shit. Our shit is a teacher and we are partners and we don't want to unsee it. And I just, the book is really impacting on me, and I really love what you're giving and was inspired to share that off of what you were just giving.
Sister, I would invite you to, if you can find it. I suppose it landed on his desk. This was during his first term, but there was a time when, Rita, you might know this, when Donald Trump called Nigeria specifically a shithole country.
Yeah.
Rita, remember that seminal moment in our shared history?
Absolutely.
Of course.
It was like, oh, shithole country. And of course, being Nigerians, we hunched our shoulders and were like, no, we're not. We have skyscrapers, we have good roads, we have this. And I wrote a letter to Trump. I doubt you read it. And I called it the glorious, the wonderful, glorious stuff of shit. The surprising nobility of shit. And I spoke about how modernity divorces us from the mess, and that maybe he might be doing himself some good to examine his own shit.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Bayo, historically, social therapeutics is building. That's how we described it historically, is building with the shit.
Yeah.
And my colleague Fanny Suarez and I, weekly, I'm actually picturing the crab activity together that we do, quite almost like what's that child's where you tie your legs together, 3-legged, 6-legged, something, and how
Race.
yes, we scamper and slowly move across the terrain of the shit weekly as we do this work. I'm picturing it. You've put a picture in my head. As we scamper, it's okay. Because the thing about the crab is that they scamper and they also move in a way where you can't tell if they're moving or not.
Yes.
They pause and linger in a place, just to say.
I was
sister,
I was
please,
just thinking about the I've been wanting to sort of play with the white modernism, whiteness
Yes.
that you talk about, and the cracks and the crabs that you're speaking about now, and the ways. I mean, I've listened to you speak about how whiteness, there are cracks. Whiteness can't hold the weight of the world, and there are lots of, and I think we're expressing the cracks and the crabs and the all of the work that is happening globally. And
Yes.
so I just the other thing is the syncopation whiteness, syncopating whiteness. So I
Yes.
really want to dance with that. I want all of us
Okay.
to dance with that syncopation, that blackness with a small b, which
There
is
we
sort of
go.
why I picked the quote about the slave ship.
That
Um,
that's 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 how I
Yes.
want to dance too. And maybe I could take several steps back and say that a lot of my concepts emerge from theological my early days wanting to be a theologian. And I'm a failed theologian and a recovering psychologist. So I'm not doing too good with disciplinarity is what I'm trying to say. But I grew up learning the story of the fall. If any of you are trained biblically, you might know the story of the fall in Genesis,
yeah.
the fall of man, right? And the fall of man, the fall of Adam and Eve, um, came with the chasing out of their accommodation. They were chased away from Eden, and they were chased into the wilds. I believe we are in a moment of the second fall of some kind,
Mm.
right? Where our gentrified ontologies within modernity and the magisterial footfalls by which we measured our steps and named ourselves superior over the planet and ecologies, those accommodations are cracking open. I mean, with a subject like AI, we assumed we were the writers, for instance. We assumed we were the authors. We assumed we were the ones in charge. I've been lamenting the fact that everyone is writing well these days. I'm sorry, this is just my vanity. I often pride myself in being a good writer. And I loved the M dash. I don't know if you know what the M dash is. I loved the M dash. It was mine. You see, I owned the M dash. I used it freely. No one knew what it was. I snuck it into my sentences. People bemoaned that fact. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT took the M dash from me, and everyone is using M dashes. And I lamented privately that issue, that fact that why is everyone writing so beautifully these days? Until I had to come to terms with the fact that the sentence does not belong to the writer that moves the pen, right? Right? The sentence belongs to the movement that pens the writer. We have never been central in how the world comes to be. And that is scandalous here. So the issue here with syncopation and crab-like movements is that we have to move differently with the planet. Now, we don't have any affordances. The gentrified affordances and luxuries of owning the planet are dissipating. And so we have to move humbly. And that's sideways. We have to walk sideways. We have to step to the side or whatever. I'm
So
trying to
by
introduce some dance metaphor. Hey,
thank
Rita.
you. Thank you for saying that because I need your thought on this because one of my missions in the world is actually to mainstream the awkwardness through the movement called the Global Play Brigade,
The
where
Global Play Brigade.
yes,
Okay, okay.
yes, and what we do is we use play across borders to build community and connection, creating new possibilities for social change. And it's been tough trying to tell people to integrate play and performance into every aspect of their lives, whether it be
Yes,
in mental health or in education or
yes,
in grassroots activism, especially in, of course, secular spaces where they do things the same way. And I
Yes.
really believe, as much as I know we talk about the whole idea of even making it secular in itself is like, okay, then it then wouldn't be awkward. Yes, then we look for another awkwardness to build on. But I think that the way and the way we practice, the how we practice needs to change. And so taking
Yeah.
practical steps based on our experience, playing with the cracks like we do, and bringing it into mainstream world so that they can play with it, that we begin to see the crab-like movement on mainstream level. What do
Yes.
you
Mm, sister, I was just thinking perversely as well. Maybe it should be, it's so Global Play Brigade, GPB. I was just thinking if you just switch it like GBP, you make lots of pounds, lots of money. But that's just my playful head. Forgive me. But I was speaking about play. Last year I was running a retreat at the Omega Institute. I spoke glowingly about play, and I will never forget this. A teacher comes forward to me privately and asks a question and says, "How do I make play institutional? How do I make it, so that everyone in my institution plays?" And I said, if you succeed, it wouldn't be play any longer.
Right.
It's not if you get it right, it wouldn't be play any longer, which is my highfalutin roundabout way of suggesting that play is always a side winding gesture. I mean, mainstreaming play might be equivalent to making Harriet Tubman president. There's something that resists and refuses centrality with playfulness or play, right? And I think that the work is to forget the mainstream and focus on the many streams that stay with the minor gesture, right? Our vocation is not to make it popular, right? Theories of change that centralized popularity, or the way corporations talk about change these days, scale up. Let's scale everything up, right? It's not about scaling up. It's about, or mainstreaming things, in my humble opinion. I think it's about staying with the minor gesture, just like you asked. You said a while ago, staying with the trouble. So it may not look like mainstream, it may not look popular, but wherever there are puddles of fugitive resistance is where play might erupt. And that does not need to be mainstream in order to be cosmic, right? Our work is already cosmic.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be mainstream. Mainstreaming is such a tiny pixelated spectacle in a world that is fluid and longing and sibilant and becoming, right? So the invitation is to stay with the minor, and the minor not as the incremental or the small, but the places of tension, the places of awkwardness. I imagine going into a room and saying, "I want y'all to play." It becomes really play becomes it becomes compulsory, right? And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I know that's not what you're doing. I already feel your vibe. That's not what you're doing. But let us also notice that one of the ways that the behemoth, which in my theory making business, is all the ways that autism, OUGHTISM, all the ways that the pragmatic controls the monstrous and polices cracks, is to invite you into the royalty of the mainstream. To say, if you're not seated on this throne, then your work doesn't matter. But we must resist that as well.
Okay.
Bayo, what you're
Yes.
saying,
Go ahead, Lo.
Uh,
what you're saying now is so dear to us. And I guess at the heart of how we came to call what we do and what's needed for revolution. We need a rhizomic revolution.
Rhizomic. There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Unsystematic, uncontrolled,
Right.
underground,
Right.
all kinds of new sprouts sprouting up wherever they sprout up. And so
Yes.
I'm very, very close to what you were just saying about forget the mainstream and
Yeah.
look at the many streams.
Yes.
I think we have to, it's time to open up. Yes.
Yay.
So
Go to gallery mode.
wonderful. I wish we could go on for another few hours. This is fabulous. So let us go to gallery view and let's thank our whatever they are, our wonderful colleagues,
Thank
all of
you.
you, for stimulating and inspiring and challenging us to see in new ways. The floor is open. Would like everybody, I think I'm right on this, Des, to if you have a comment or question, raise your virtual hand and you will come to the top
Yes,
of
yes.
this of everybody's screen.
And you could do that by clicking the raise hand emoji at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you'd like to make a comment or question or join the conversation in any way.
Yep, yep.
We have one from Mary.
Okay. Mary.
Oh, sorry, I should. I mean, this is really for everyone to grapple with, but I was just struck what you were saying. I love the conversation. And I feel I do a lot of work now in the field of dementia and really have learned so much from that, because for me, at least, the experiences, I mean, I think I think the attempt to control it is problematic. But the experience of being with dementia, and a little bit, I was thinking about that, of what you were saying, Bayo, about autism, it's also an endless invitation to play, to never go forward. In a way, you can't. It becomes a kind of there's just no way to contain it, to fit it so neatly into everything. And I guess I was just wondering if you could just say more about, and again, in a sense, when because, and I also feel a resistance because it's the cognitive, it's the sacred. It's one thing to be physically limited, but when you lose your memory yourself, then that becomes just the epitome of tragedy, which obviously we've been engaging. But I guess I was wondering if you could say more about how you see that and how you accept the invitation that is, in a sense, not going through the world in the same cognitive ways that you ought to.
Yes. Is the modus operandi to respond right now? Can I?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't have an answer. Answers are too fixated on themselves. I hope this is an ellipsis of some kind and leads somewhere else stranger. But what comes to mind now is my days growing up as a clinical psychologist that wanted to change everything, right? That was uncomfortable with psychoanalysis. And so I was more into cognitive behavioral therapies and studied at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital as an intern and got a PhD in ethnopsychotherapeutic modalities. Along this journey, I learned everything I learned was flipped upside down. And it was because I met with Yoruba practitioners. Yoruba people are from West Africa. And they have people called babalawos that are, you could call them shamans. You know, they work with people and they help them in some way. One of the stories that I like to tell is about me asking questions like, what do you do? I was doing my PhD. How do you heal people who present with auditory hallucination? I remember that question. I don't speak Yoruba well. And in fact, my mother, if she heard me say I don't speak Yoruba well, she would laugh herself, you know, because she knows I don't speak it any good at all. She would, you know, but I said, what do you do about auditory hallucination? How do you stop the voices? What modalities? What plants do you use? I was still squarely within the DSM, you know, and its religiosity. And this brother, this shaman said, well, something I've said over and over again, Why would you want to heal that? Why do you want to cure that?
Mhm.
Right? He was like saying that, what if that's your grandmother trying to reach out to you? What if that's your, your grandfather? What if that's the field trying to leak into your spaces of anxiety? Why would you want to cure that? Right? And it dawned on me that most of our anxiety is about wellness and well-being, and the cultures that have sprouted from that emerge because of our ontologies, the ways we've been trained to think about what it means to be well in the world, right? And the politics that has sprouted from that, right? Our world is deeply ableist, right? It's conditioned to support neurotypicality and a particular way of being in the world. And that's why this therapeutics, the things I talk about, ab therapy, parapolitics, post-activism, all come down to the act of making sanctuary for generative incapacitation. What are the hidden gifts of forgetting?
Mhm.
Right? Even Deleuze and Guattari, philosophers that
I
that
agree.
inspire me, spoke about the revolutionary quality of schizophrenia. Now, that might sound like a romanticization. It's not. It's not an attempt to flatten pathology into romance. It's an
Mhm.
invitation to stay with the trouble. That
Mhm.
somehow the only way we become different, the only way we come out of the rot of neurotypicality and modernity and the vicissitudes of the transatlantic slave trade, which still lives in white politics, is to stay with that which we've brandished and designated as pathological. And that's what I'll say to that generally.
Mhm.
Wow.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Love that.
It's very helpful.
Yes, I
Thank
don't
you.
know whether I can say something, Bayo, because sometimes I have seen that people who are having delusions and hallucinations, maybe they are more creative because they have a world, because we are not aware of that world. So we are trying to carve down their world.
Right.
So they can move very freely in that world and
Yeah.
what we say the world of normal people.
Yeah.
So they can move freely in both the worlds, and they are more creative, and they can enjoy the both the worlds also.
Yes. Yes. It's the what's that diagnostic criterion around scrupulosity?
D
I've forgotten my
DSM,
DSM. I
diagnostic
trained my
statistical, the
yes.
DSM, yes.
Scrupulosity, right? It's as something connected with OCD. I've over the years I've tried as much because I trained myself to learn all the categories in the DSM. I'm on training myself. That's why I say I'm a recovering psychologist,
Right.
right? It's I don't think many of us don't really understand how imprisoned we are within subjectivity, within a particular framework of experience, right? Just a while ago, someone was speaking about when we invited them to do something weird in this space this beautiful space here in São Paulo. How she kept on asking herself what would be weird and how she was looking for how to be cool in her weirdness. It's all the ways we govern ourselves, all the ways we police ourselves. It's the reason why Erin Manning would say, whiteness polices the cracks, right? It polices the cracks. And so our work is to sidestep the violence of ontology, and that's para-ontology, to sidestep it, which is the reason why the crab is very important as a symbol for social therapy, right? We need to sidestep the ontology and come at it from a different angle. Our focus is not on healing subjects. Our focus is on on imprinting new possibilities in the mycelial field. Or as the Bible says in some place that uh, uh I know Rita knows this. I know Rita knows this. Uh, our struggle is not with our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in high
Powers.
places.
Yes.
I knew you'd say it. I knew you said you were trained. You were trained that way. Nigeria is very churchy. But but that's the idea. It's that it's not on getting the pieces out. It's on changing the field so that new possibilities can envelope and become new kinds of subjectivities. Or like my brother said, Stephen said a while ago, that it's about different kinds of autisms, different kinds of possibilities. And the only way we get through that is art and playfulness and wobbling together and crying together and eating together. And that's it. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Arlene.
This is like my first entry into this community, by the way, and it's really beautiful. So I just want to say that, and I'm really enjoying this.
Welcome.
This isn't necessarily a question. I think it's an invitation into like a feeling of really resonating with everything that is being said, to the point where I've been having these conversations, what I thought were just, you know, in isolation with my community. And now I'm here and I'm like, it's happening all at the same time. I've been thinking about inviting clowning and all of these different things into my work, right? Which I'm hearing, this is the opposite,
Hey.
right? This is the let's not take it all so seriously. And yet,
Right.
I primarily work in my private practice with trans people.
Right.
I've worked as a social worker in like homeless communities for years. I believe all of this, everything everyone's saying about schizophrenia, about the DSM-5, and yet I sit here thinking I'm so inspired, but I'm confused as to how to really move forward because, you know, when sitting in like a homeless shelter with a child, you know, I say child, but you know, 16, 17, with schizophrenia that's scaring everybody so much, right? And
Right.
I'm sitting here saying, no, there's something deeper here. There's something spiritual happening, right? But the call to action of just myself, which I was the only therapist on site at this homeless shelter because I'm working in an incredibly fucking broken system that gives me zero resources to help people, right? That's why I'm not in that shelter anymore. But I guess I'm just like, but what do I do? I know it's all nonsensical. I know that it's play, but it's like I'm sitting here in front of people who are like, a, especially in the United States right now as trans people, right? I don't know how to apply these things and
Yes.
yeah, so I suppose I'm inviting like help or a deeper way to live
Yes.
these ideologies. Yeah.
Sister, that is such a profoundly honest and grounding question. And also just to say through the sides of my mouth that you do the crab really great. And so that was awesome. Um, but I don't want to dismiss or gloss over the grittiness and the power of the question you've asked. A dear friend, possibly my best friend, who works with me, once asked me a question. So, Bayo, how do we operationalize the cracks? I hear what you're saying, but how do we operationalize it? And for me, that was such a dangerous question. Not dangerous because it's dangerous to ask, but because there is a tendency to optimize in our politics. It's we hear stuff like this and we immediately, and for good reason, because we are affected by suffering and we want to relieve suffering in some way. People ask me questions like, how do we think about Gaza with this para-ontology? How do we think about apartheid and genocide? And I wish if I had my way, I wouldn't be speaking about parapolitics. I would get a glove, a Thanos glove, and snap the hell out of these wars, right? But that's not the world we live in. And maybe my roundabout point that I'm making is just as we are learning the authenticity of I don't know, in Rita's words, I think we also have to give ourselves permission to fail. That this is not, this is not around us. We are not the consequential creatures of choice here. That this is all our work. And by all, I don't even mean humans. I mean ancestors and intensities and thresholds. Fungi need to get in on this dancing, right? It's all of us together. It's is we have to allow ourselves spaces of rest. And I'm not just talking about an act of rest. I'm talking about ontology and philosophy as rest, thought as rest, that allows us to notice that we will fail, and that's okay. We may not get it right, and that's okay, right? I just had a conversation about trans issues 2 nights ago here in Brazil, and I was speaking about transness as a crack, right? A crack in the binary of gender, how it breaks through and says, yeah, I don't want to fit into any of these paradigms. But then a politics steps in and says, what we're going to do now is render you legible, right? So I'm going to give you names. I'm going to give you a practice like pronouns, right? So you can put that next to your name and then make yourself more legible. And you can form a sanitized politics around this. And if anyone does not conform to this paradigm or to this practice, then they're harming you. And for good reason. There are many reasons why people do this, but legibility is always dangerous within modernizing politics. It's like offering you a seat at the table so you can have a glimpse of power. But power within these paradigms is the offensive thing here. And what we're trying to do here is not to rush to legibility or rush to solutions or rush to harmonization or romanticism, is to stay with the trouble. And staying with the trouble is no guarantee of relief. It's no guarantee of relief. Nothing in my Yoruba cosmology offers me a guarantee that if you do this, after 3 years, you will get this, because the world does not work that way. So my sister, I think the most grounding thing I can offer right now is to suggest that our work is long and deep, and our cells are longer and deeper, and that the permission to fail, the permission to not get it right, is probably the most awesome, scandalizing gift we can afford ourselves as caregivers at this time.
Thank you, Bayo.
Can I?
I think in our remaining time, we should hear everybody's comment, and we
Yes.
all in a row, and we will have them for posterity, and maybe Bayo can wrap it up and respond to all in one
Right after this.
short, brilliant evocation.
I would like to just say thank you, though.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Keep
Sorry,
crabbing,
Arlene.
Arlene. Keep crabbing, okay?
Keep grabbing. Okay, we will start with Joyce and Kathy.
Oh, wait, I'm
Try to keep it relatively brief or brief.
Okay.
on.
Kathy here, Kathy Stewart here. Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderfully rich, challenging conversation and practice in crabbing. I wanted to just share something that I've been really thinking about throughout the dialogue today. And if you can comment on it, great. Otherwise, in a way, you already did. I work in independent politics. And a lot of my work is working with independent voters who are misunderstood, maligned, and marginalized, but an amazing creative force, because you can't put us in a box. You can't label independents easily and put us away. And we're now the fastest growing community of voters. So what I've been thinking a lot about is that as a crabbing activity, and something I've always valued, but I think I'm understanding even more profoundly, is what it means for independent voters to play with who they are and learn to speak about themselves and all their diversity as a way to kind of try to break the duality of American politics. I mean, talk about long game, but I just wanted to add that to the conversation. Great.
Thank you, Kathy. It's important. Uber, it's at an Uber level. Raquel.
This is so.
No,
I can't hear you.
All right.
video.
You're muted, Raquel. Oh,
There you go. Yeah, we're doing.
Oh.
No,
Turn off the
Now
other
you
one.
have me without echo, correct?
Yes.
Good.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So exciting. Raquel Holmes, Improv Science, and Sonoma State University. So up from you when you're in
Hey.
Berkeley. And I was thinking, one, I love your giving us ways of relating to whiteness as other than identity, like literally saying that, and to give
Yes.
us the method that goes with that in a way that we can invite people to be both unmelanated and, right, part of creating a new world. So I think, or a new way of relating to what whiteness has been and what it exists as. I think
Yes.
that I found that very helpful. I live with physicists primarily at the moment who have been creating community with play and art. So there's a class that's starting in October, quantum learning ensembles, an invitation for people to play with what is quantum and that experience of being both particle and wave and not separate of that. The field that you speak of being so important and part of our play of kind of continuing to shift environment. All of these are things, and the tension, I think, so improv science lives at that nexus of how do we continue to invite people to play in the institutions of science and the language we need to be able to be in conversation at the edges, right? In
Yes.
that kind of the shit of the institution, right? That has its own
Yes.
language that we have to break down. So these are all things that I hope to keep playing with us, and this has been gorgeous.
Can I say something real quick to that? Whiteness is not a color. Whiteness is a shape. And we are conditioned in even people as black as I am, and I think I'm the blackest of black. I've been told that many times. Is even people as black as I am could be white because whiteness is an orientation to experience. It's how bodies are shaped, maintained, solidified, naturalized within a field of power, right? And this is racialization, right? And so this crab-like work is white syncopation. It's white syncopation. And by white syncopation, I mean all the ways that the system is upsetting its own paradigms, right? One of the greatest crab walkers and improvisationalists that I know are Ellen and William Craft. I think they were Macon State, Georgia, Macon, Georgia. Yes, they were in the slave plantation. I mean, so many stories about how slaves escaped the plantation. One of the most fascinating is Henry Box Brown in 1849 escaped the plantation in a box. But Ellen and William Craft, yeah, took on new identities. They literally Ellen took on the identity of a white man, and William became her slave, and they escaped up north
Hmm.
from Georgia to Canada, right? And I think we will not leave the vicissitudes and the vortices of modernity if we think we're going to walk straight out with our necks and our backs held straight. We have to become animal-like. We have to sneak,
Mm.
right? Hiding as a form of courage. This is blackness, not blackness with a big B, which is identitarian and which is in resistance and confrontation with this other whiteness, which is identitarian, but blackness that knows how to leak, right? It knows how to spill through identity. That is the invitation of the field.
Mm. Wow.
What are mine?
It's amazing.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Kathy, Janet, Alan, Lou, E, and Beth. Let's try to get you all in there.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you, Eastside Institute. Thank you, Bayo. Moving to the sides and discovering untapped spaces of power. I believe that you said that.
Yes.
And I believe that you also have described yourself, or you've spoken about being post-power. I'm probably saying it. Did you say that? Am I making that up? But
I'm saying that now. I'm saying that now. Put it in on a
Okay.
t-shirt. Post power. I'm definitely.
Post power.
Uh,
I'm over
but
it.
I love that being where power lies. And that's one thing. I have been crying pretty much throughout this whole time. So thank you. And we will never complete, we will never arrive. That is so beautiful and so important for myself and many others on this Zoom screen who have signed up for the long game. And it's a fucking pain in the ass. It's a difficult one. I also just really appreciate your creating of new language and new meanings of words that have been so modernized and so over determining. And so I love the experience of having no idea what you're talking about, then feeling like, oh, maybe this is what he means. Maybe this is what he, and so I think
Right, well said.
that's so powerful and so important that we all find ways to do that. And we do. I think social therapeutics is very much that. But thank you for your bravery and your love. And we're in this together.
Share. Let's share. Let's share. We're in this together.
Jan,
Bayo
Hey.
and all of us. I'm just happy to be in the home of social therapeutics today, talking to you, Bayo. And I can't help but think, but one of our ancestors, Fred Newman, who with Lois developed so much of the work that we're doing here. And I feel like that he, in his philosophizing, is shining through us today. And also that we are passionate about philosophizing for everybody on this planet. And I feel your popularity is it's so inspiring because you are popular. And just to echo what we're saying about the power of this, I'm going to take just 2 seconds more to say your post on LinkedIn about how there is no interior experience and there's no exterior experience and we are monistic in this world was mind-blowing and important. And it's part of a conceptual revolution that we need, right? So
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
thank
okay.
you, Jan. Alan,
Yes, I actually, Kathy, you stole a lot of what I was gonna say about this brother here. You know, I'm a longtime community play activist, performance activist, and community organizer. And I mean, I don't have credentials. I don't have a PhD or nothing, but I love working with our people in poor communities. And as Kathy was saying, I'm just like, I love the language that you use. I mean, I don't know if I know half the time what you're talking about, but on the other hand, I do know what you're talking about.
There you go.
You know, I you know, I often feel inadequate with being able to express myself, but you really inspire me with the words you just seem like, I don't know if you do it off the top, just create new language on the spot. You know, I'm really impressed and inspired. I'm a big fan of improvisation. I've done improv comedy for many years with many people on this call here, but I'm just so moved by that when you speak the way you do, it's very rhythmic to me. I love the dance and I'm dancing with you, my brother, you know, in what you're saying. So
Thank you, big brother. Thank you. Thank you.
Louis,
There we go.
Yes, thank you. Let me just say first, and very briefly, how much at home I feel um, among brothers and sisters um, in this conversation. Um, and I just one thing to mention about the alternative to frontality, which I found extremely helpful. I remember in the 1960s when Noam Chomsky was on firing line with William Buckley, one of the things he said was that to consent to argue about what the United States was doing in Vietnam was to already lose the argument.
He wrote to Trump saying,
I remember that Fred Newman, who was along with Lois, one of the creators of social therapy in the beginning, spoke in the 70s about this argument on the United States left, the alienated United States left, about theory and practice, and to join in that argument was to join in that argument, speaking on behalf of practice, was to lose the argument. So I think now about the genocide in Gaza and how there is nothing to say. There is really no argument to have about it. And aside from the fact that it is virtually complete, there's simply no argument to have about it. And I think about the conversation between the MAGA movement and the liberals. Again, I think the question that I'm not disposed to argue about it. I think that there's a question I'm disposed to ask, which is simply, what is to become of us? And I'd love to hear your response, Bayo, sometime when there's more room.
Thank you, brother.
Really
I will.
important.
Where are you in the United States, brother?
I am in New York, between New York City and the Catskill Forest.
Okay.
In upstate New York.
Well, I will be
Beth
coming to Great
sorry, go
Barrington
ahead.
soon. I'll be coming to Great Barrington soon in Massachusetts. So maybe somehow we can find another time to be in conversation. I would love to be in conversation.
Thank you, Great Barrington. Duly noted. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, brother.
Wonderful. Beth, hello.
Hi. Oh, I will be fast. My goodness. Thank you everyone so much. The title here, how do we save ourselves from ourselves? I am a baby recovering psychologist, so I am just learning the opportunity to de-identify from that. And I'm just so grateful that there's a path forward. And yet the path to get there was so part of whiteness, the shape of the I, the shape of the me, the shape of the mother, the narcissism that I grew up in. And so I am so curious, what do I do with the I? What do I do with the it? For context, I work with veterans. Where not only is there the trauma of what they did, then there's the moral injury. And there's this fork of my own disgust and my own anger. And there's this just spiral of rage and confusion and curiosity and wanting to help, and yet knowing the impact of the violence. And every answer I have is so smart. I read you all the time, and yet I'm just standing on the shoreline. I'm shaken. How can we the bridge, like how you hear that yearning? The bridge, yeah. What to do with the I and the it? Yeah, the
I'll quickly say
identification
this.
of trauma. Thank you.
I'll quickly say this. You just said I'm shaking, and I felt that's the politics. That's white syncopation. The shaking is where it's at. Everything the I can do about the I will still result in an I-ness, right? It's the generosity of the field that results in shaking. And I think if we stay in the places of the shaking, things beautiful happen. I'll just say this. A PhD student in Arkansas, and I shared this example a while ago, wrote to me and said, I'm trying to work in racial justice circles, to help white people not depend so much on the emotional labor of Black folk in the United States, because they're crying all the time on Black folk, and Black folk have to help them, so how do I help white people to self-regulate? And I said, sister, whiteness is self-regulation. She didn't, that's how neurotypicality thinks, regulate yourself. But that's not true. We don't, we're not as regulating as we think we are. It's always social, ancestral, fungal, gastronomical, bacterial. So this is syncopation. The syncopating lines are where we meet. And that is the space of radical apprenticeship to disfigurement. That is the place of radical apprenticeship to the poetics of Blackness, not Blackness as identity. I'm not saying become Black. No, it's about what the field is doing and what it might make possible. That's the place of agency, right? So let's not bother too much about the shape of the eye as much as we notice the crack in the eye, the kintsugi, the spirit line. That's where it's at.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. Mm.
Let it flow,
Diksha.
sister. Let it flow.
Hi, I'm from India in Delhi. It's been a pleasure to hear you. It's just been sheer poetry. I am always a bit, how inspired are you in the way you think, in your critique of the world from the Bible? Because that just makes me slightly nervous coming from the colonial history and the
Yeah.
religion involved. So just if you could, yeah. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't even say I do critique as such. I do diffraction. Like critique presumes a pure place upon which you stand perspectively to address a world that is supposedly stabilized as well. No, I do diffractive reading. Modernity would like us to think you need to be pure to make the world pure, or you need to, what's that phrase about looking, what did Michael Jackson say again? You all know what Michael Jackson said about
The man in the
I'm
mirror.
gonna make the change, look in the man in the
Man in
mirror and
the
all that crap, right? Right. It's not about looking at the man in the mirror and then changing the world, or Diksha, you know what Gandhi supposedly said, according to the internet, right? Like change yourself to change the world, which Gandhi never said, right? But of course. Um so I don't stand upon the Bible as a complete archive. I'm standing and speaking from the cracks. This is what I call tectopoetics or parapoetics, right? Nothing is completely evil or nothing is completely colonial. You stand in the places of radical incompleteness, in the words of Fred Moulton, and speak from there. And so that's why I'm able to say that even though I don't identify as Christian, I'm entangled with a Christian. I may not identify with BMW, but somehow I'm complicit in making BMW cars, right? It's that
Got
there's
you.
no space of purity to stand upon in order to address a world that is outside of us, right? And that's the poetics of social therapeutics. And mic drop, and that's the mic drop. I ended with social therapeutics for a mic drop.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Bayo.
Amazing historical
Thank you,
conversation,
brother.
historical, revolutionary, unusual, awkward, and musical conversation. Love all of you. And I'm turning it back to Carrie to close us out.
Thank you. Yes, no words, only love for all of you and for the conversation you created and we've created. I wanted to make sure you knew about some upcoming events. In particular, on October 24th, we have Radical Therapy for Turbulent Times, in which you'll get to see some of the practitioners who were in this conversation today, gathered together with Jan Wooten and Rachel Mickenberg and their clients to talk about their experience meandering in the mess in social therapy. So please join us for that event. And then I mentioned this at the beginning, we are the home of Performing the World, And our conference is on November 13th to the 16th this year, completely virtually, so that everybody can present. And you've heard this phrase today. We coined it actually for this event, for the Performing the World Conference. The theme this year is meandering in the mess, creating and organizing power. And PTW, as I said, is fully online and accessible. And what we're asking people to do is not just join us, not just register to come hear the presenters, but organize a watch party in your house, in your community center, in your school, in your outside, in your backyard, so that you can bring more and more people, particularly people who don't necessarily have access to good internet, to come and join us at that conference. And both of these are part of what we're all creating together. So please join us. And Bayo, we hope you will join us at both of those. We would love to have you there as our guest. So thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon. Oh,
Bye, folks.
Carrie?
Gotta go.
hold on.
Hold on.
Thank
you.
If the chat has been
Oh, yes.
so rich, so if we're saving the chat, and if you ask for the recording, is this right, Carrie?
Yes, you will
What
all
happened?
get both the recording and the chat. You don't even have to ask for it. We will
Okay.
send it to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that
Yes,
I
you-
wasn't
you'll
able to
get-
read it.
Nope, you'll get an email from us in the next couple of days. And many of you who are new have already been getting wonderful emails. I hope you've been reading them from us, but we'll send out the recording in the next few days.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bayo. Where are you?
I think Bio had to leave.
Thank you.